still there?
Wait just a second. That doesn't make any sense. You guys are watching the Ravi Tanwar interview that already happened yesterday over on the Data Leap Andrew show. Now, I'm not a fool or anything, but if you were subscribed, you would have seen that that interview already happened. So this is either a part 2 or a parallel universe or... Hey, this guy, he's not Andrew from Data Leap. I'm Andrew from Data Leap. This guy's only Andrew from the Data Leap Andrew show. Now, if you'd be so kind, thank you.
Are you still there? To delete this message, press 7. To save it in the archives, press 9. To hear more options, press 0.
What are you talking about?
You are now watching the separation of two different Andrew and Data Leap identities. One is going to focus on high quality, best free education of the industry of data science and math, and just fun ways to explain complex concepts simply. That's going to be the Data Leap that you know and love. On the other side is going to be the Data Leap Andrew show, which is going to focus on these interviews with real subscribers of the Data Leap community and people just like you on the data science journey. But also, it's going to focus on personal finance, it's going to focus on investments, and it's going to focus on making you grow your wealth, become better at whatever you do. And I think that's a worthy reason to go ahead and subscribe right now. Today, we are going to continue talking to Ravi Tanwar. He is a data scientist who accepted a business analyst position and a few months later twisted that around to become a full-fledged data scientist. Now, how did he do that? And how did he do it straight out of college, graduating with an undergraduate degree and not a ton of industry experience? In fact, no data science experience. If he can do it, so can you. This is Data Journey, the journey to data science from zero. Thank you for being here. If you want to catch the first part, head on over to the Data Leap Andrew show, where future content just like this is going to be continued to be uploaded. Thank you for staying to the end in advance. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot for you to go ahead and like this video if you liked it, and subscribe not only to this channel, but to that one, and of course, hitting that bell button. Ladies and gentlemen, the continuation of Ravi's story, how he became a data scientist, not only hired in a few months, but now hiring. And, as always, peace.
Do you ask for feedback when you get rejected?
Yep, I did. And I wasn't really very lucky in that case. Only one company did give me complete feedback, and it was PayPal.
What did they say?
So they said you need to work on your communication a little bit. You need to be a little bit, actually, they said you need to be a little soft while talking to the interviewers. He said that your tone was a little bit too on the aggressive side. And maybe I didn't notice that. Maybe I was in the, I don't know what happened back then. And yeah, mostly were regarding the communication and also he was like when he asked about the feedback from other team members, he said that the enthusiasm about the role that wasn't up to the 100%, and yeah, that was the thing. And another thing he mentioned was like you had the discussion into too much into the technical portion, but the role also required some business perspective, so we weren't able to judge you on the business portion because you didn't even go in that direction. So that was also one of the things.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that feedback with us. A lot of people, take constructive criticism and feel like that's an attack against their own sense of self-worth and whatever they've built. So
right.
It means a lot to be honest with us, people on the internet, but also with yourself when you're building from constructive feedback. Now, that said, I do see that a lot. I do these interviews where people just kind of tell me their story, and then I try to guide them in the right data science direction. And oftentimes they're just asking, what's my next step, right? Like, I'm ready, give it to me. And oftentimes I feel like if you have this much knowledge about data structures, about algorithms, about models, then what you really need to work on now is communicating your story, being a narrative data storyteller, someone who I don't want to spend a unexpected layover on an airplane or an airport with is not really going to be the right data science fit for most companies. And that's something you have to realize, is that every country is kind of different, right? I don't know how to act in a business setting in Asia or in the Arab Emirates or in India, for example, right?
Right.
So it ultimately ends up being a twofold question after you get the technical skills. One, do you have the product sense and product landscape sense and the competitor space sense, the business sense of all of these different case studies, of all of these different business tactics, of this logical way to approach business problems? And then two, can you communicate that in a way that is playful, is communicative, is wonderful for the interviewer, so that they can gauge how you would be to potential stakeholders and clients?
Yeah, one of the sentences which he said at the end was, because I was contacted for this role at PayPal by the hiring manager. I didn't apply or anything. So one of the things he said in the end, which really struck to me, was like, people want to select those people who they enjoy working with. That's one of the most fundamental things. So yeah, I would also I pondered about this a little bit, like, yeah, why did he say that? Because obviously if someone comes to interview me, I would most of the times we are focused on the technicals and all, right? But he said at the end, it sort of comes down to how can you contribute to the team and how can the others work with you. That's probably the biggest thing.
That's so true. I think that one of my strengths in getting a position in these companies was the ability to prove that I could get the needle moved, that I could get a meeting with someone who normally doesn't want to talk to anyone, and then push through a KPI or push through a sprint and complete on time, right? Oftentimes a data scientist, actually most of the time, this is a bit of an industry secret, is that 80% of what you learn academically will never be used. Ultimately, it's going to be packaged up into some sort of pre-made package, with GPT-3 and every other advanced technology. Actually, Tina and Data Professor were talking about this earlier today on their channel, about how...
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it was good.
He was interested in GPT-3, but didn't have any idea what the GPT-3 was.
Exactly. They were talking about how easy it is to automate more advanced math and more advanced machine learning, right? Ultimately, being able to understand that stuff and implement it and build out these projects is great. But if you can't be the person that actually changes the company in a specific way, if you don't make meaningful impact... Exactly. Thank you for sharing that. Actually, that's a big point, that without a closer eye to the detail, people start to move away from, because it's just kind of difficult to take the feedback that is, you're not someone we want to work with. That's not just like missing the grade, right? You can get a B+ on your report card, and then you think, oh, that means that I'm not smart enough or I didn't work hard enough. But just by saying, I don't think you're someone we want to work with, that's a lot harder constructive criticism to take. But I digress. You do have the job. You are hiring data scientists now. Tell us about that transition. So what do you currently do in terms of mentoring and gathering other data scientists and interviewing data scientists now?
So I I don't have like an extensive experience in that. I'm just starting out, right? More so, I would say I have more experience of mentoring young talents, right? So I can share a little bit about that. So the two guys which interned under me, so they were really on the technical side, as we all have discussed, right? Really strong technical, really strong coding and all, but they didn't have any sort of, I would say, business knowledge it was really hard to make him see things through the eyes of a business. So that was one of the gaps. And one of the things which I've seen in the current generation is like they're really anxious. They sort of take little things on their heart, right? And they it's really easy for them to lose their balance and attention, if you know what I'm saying. So that was the thing. And regarding
Well,
guiding them
that's
into
interesting right there. Do you remember any specific point where you asked them to do something business related, or perhaps try to judge their business understanding of a question, and they shocked you because of how they didn't understand a business related question?
Oh, we were having a call with this intern, right? So the call was going on. We were sort of explaining the project details and all those things, right? So we had to build some sort of a classifier, right? Just while we were completing our sentences and all, this intern, he jumps in and he says like I'm gonna build a deep neural network that's gonna give you a 90% accuracy, and this can be done in a week, and you guys leave all this to me, and we're done. He was so he was on seven skies, but and I didn't like give him a big lecture in a call right there and then. I told him like, yeah, I'll talk to you later and let's take this slow. And so I had a call with him and I told him like, yeah, man, you need to explain this to business stakeholders. There's a lot of things involved. You need to justify your solution. You need to yourself understand your solution, and if you just straight ahead implement a deep neural network giving 90% accuracy, that's not gonna do good. So he took that feedback.
You are a more patient mentor and manager than others I've seen. Thank you for sharing that story. In that sense, it really comes back to the idea that people with poor communication skills, or perhaps people with space to grow in communication, ultimately end up overestimating or perhaps over promising and under delivering. Especially if they don't, especially when they have to consider a project that has variables outside of themselves. Maybe they have a really good understanding of how they behave themselves, but when they have to make multiple gears mesh together, they have a poor understanding of how to project and estimate how long a project of that caliber would take.
Right. And another thing which I can mention in this sort of ballpark is when we used to have presentations. So they straight up would dive into code and sort of going into the Jupyter notebook and explain the code line by line, right? So I think this is not sort of the right approach, because straight away when there's a call, you should explain what's the result, and after explaining the results and final conclusion, then you can sort of dive deep into certain portions.
100%. Can you tell us let's talk about the transition between business analyst and data scientist. How did you do it? Inquiring minds want to know. That pivot probably took a little bit of hustle from your side.
Yeah, sure. So as I told earlier, that even though it was a hiring for a business analyst, but they wanted someone who could do a bit more technical work, right? So I did that, and I was also showing enthusiasm in other projects. Like if someone else was doing some data fetching job, I would go up to their seats and ask them like, what sort of stuff you're doing, what sort of server you're using, whether it's Amazon EC2 or that sort of thing. And little things like web scraping wasn't popular back in the team, and I sort of introduced that, and just these little things, right? And Yeah, I would say the most important thing is guiding your guiding your journey into the direction which you want to go, because that's what the other people are gonna see. Like if you're gonna just do the work they assign you, then you're gonna go at a regular pace, right? But if you want to do something different, you should contribute more, you should listen more, you should observe more. So I think that's what I did.
Good perspective. I think what you mentioned here is that one thing that stood out from your experience at PayPal from the company that you currently work at is excitement about the project, right? You mentioned that PayPal said that, you could have showed more passion for the kind of products that we work on and for the space that we're in. And you told me that you showed a lot of excitement for the projects of the company you currently work at. So it ultimately ends up being the extra mile that you can take as a candidate is reading a published paper, right? Reading a news article about the company you're currently working at or about to work at, and saying, I really love how this worked. Maybe this connects with the other work that I've already done, or maybe something that I'm just extremely passionate about. That could be a cutting edge for you as a candidate.
Yeah, it sets you apart from other candidates, right? And so that was the thing.
Nice. Can you talk to me about so if I can get it straight, the role was a business analyst, but who was the person that ultimately suggested that this is actually a data science role? Was it you or the employer?
It was I think it was both from both of our sides, because they were really sort of hiring aggressively for stepping into the analytics and sort of machine learning space. So I think it was understood from both the sides.
So were you ever a business analyst, or did you start as a data scientist?
I started off as a business analyst, yeah.
At what point did you switch titles?
So it was a couple months, I would say around 66. I was in business analyst role for, I think, more or less 2.5 months.
Wow. That is, for larger companies here in Silicon Valley, that would be like no time at all to prove yourself, right? There's so many hoops and different red tape that you have to cross that there's almost nothing that you could accomplish in 2.5 months. You would just be onboarding for, I don't know, at least that time, if not double that time, at a normal large FANG company or Silicon Valley company. So amazing, kudos to you. I would think that switching titles, even if it doesn't come with a compensation boost in America, now that you have a data science role under your belt, especially since that you were working in depth with the hiring managers, you were actually interviewing and mentoring and taking consideration of who now comes into the company. You were managing interns. That kind of experience is 3x 4x compensation for a regular business analyst role. Just to throw some numbers out, the median for an analyst, someone who is a business analyst, so maybe they don't even know SQL, maybe they work specifically in Excel and PowerPoint, they're going to be making a non-Californian role somewhere between $50,000
70.
Yeah, $50,000 to $70,000. But immediately slap a data analyst on top of that role, or perhaps a business intelligence engineer or someone like that, then you could start seeing a 20% boost, and gosh, move on to data science, and that is a 6-figure baseline here in California. So it really does matter what you're called, even though the work is very similar. What do you think about that in terms of maybe how it differs in India, or is that even fair how that works in America?
I would say the work sort of matters more. This is what I think, but whatever matters, it doesn't actually play out in the real world. Like real world works in a sort of a different way. So definitely the designations and all these things matter.
Gotcha. What do you think you would be able to advise yourself? Your journey is in a very short sprint. So the last year has been full of boons for you. And they're all very well necessitated by the work you've done. So amazing, kudos to you. What kind of advice would you give yourself?
Full of booms and full of rejections.
Yes, you have to take your lumps with your sugar, I guess. But what is like maybe a one sentence advice you would give yourself if you could go back?
One sentence advice. I would say don't take yourself too seriously.
That's nice. There's a lot of people who do take themselves very seriously. Some of them in the comment section asking, I don't have a master's degree, or I don't even have a bachelor's degree. What kind of advice would you give them?
Just dive in and just do it, man, without thinking.
Then in that case, what's the first step to dive in?
It sort of depends, right? What sort of journey that they want to take, and but I think regardless of the journey, you have to sort of know some sort of statistics, some sort of math, some programming, and once you get into the flow, then it sort of, I think, comes naturally. And then because once you enter the market, things start to make a whole lot more sense.
Right. And Kenji and I have always been in the camp that you don't need a graduate degree to succeed in this field. In fact, Data Science Jay is a notable example. He's running his own data science company, and he was able to get a data science job straight out of his bachelor's degree. If you don't have a bachelor's degree, you can still make it in the field. Just remember what you're worth, right? The work that we do is not prediced on what we learned. Again, you're only probably going to use 20% of what you actually academically learned in your degree. But unfortunately, as the industry change, it's still conservatively looking at these accredited universities. In fact, I covered this in how to spot a real data scientist versus a fake data scientist.
Fake one, yeah.
Yeah, from a very close-minded individual on Quora. Ultimately, it ends up being how much hustle can you put into your personal projects, and what kind of online presence can you have for making those connections, so that one day, just like Ravi, a recruiter comes knocking on your door with a project that you would also be very passionate about. I want to flip the script and let you ask me any questions that you have, because this has been the story of Ravi, but I always give you the chance to objection and counterpoint to me.
Right. So I have two sort of very light questions. The first one is, where did you find the name Data Leap?
Data Leap? No one's asked that yet, so thank you for asking. I was scratching my brain about what to name myself. I was like Data Man Andrew, or Detandrew, or something that has my name in it. I'm still struggling with my YouTube name, because I want it to be my name. I want it to be Andrew. But at the same time, right, a little known fact, I actually named myself. So my parents didn't name me Andrew. When I was 6 years old, on the taxi ride from O'Hare Airport, I named myself, because the taxi driver asked me, what's your name, bud? And I said my Chinese name. And he's like, you need an American name. And I said, then my name is Andrew, because of my favorite Pixar movie. So I technically picked this.
Is that Toy Story?
It's Toy Story. And the reason why I didn't pick Andy is because I said there's already an Andy out in the world. So I'll be Andrew.
That movie is so good. That brings so many nostalgic memories. Toy Story, I think, in my opinion, one of the greatest trilogies of all time.
Thank you. I mean, I agree. They're coming out with more, but the trilogy really stays close to my heart. But the reason why Data Leap made sense is because I took a picture of me jumping. This was actually in this city. If you can find the same place in this city and then jump off of it and then send in your photo, something amazing is going to happen if you can do that. But Santorini is the city here. I took the photo of me jumping, and I thought this would be a dynamic photo, maybe a brand for the channel. And I could not think of anything that didn't already exist except Data Leap. At the point, that didn't really have a strong YouTube presence, that didn't have a strong Twitter or Instagram presence. So I said, it's 8 letters. It's easy to remember. Let's just go with it. And that's how Data Leap was born.
Yeah, and even I was curious, nobody had ever asked this question, right? And another one, since we are into the realm of names, so how and why do you name your dog Meatball?
Meatball? Meatball the dog, is he here? Meatball's sleeping.
Come on, buddy. Come on. Come on. Oh, Meatball.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, Meatball, he's so big. So Meatball the dog, I got him on Clear the Shelters Day 3 years ago. And he...
2 years ago or 3 years ago?
3 years ago. So he's been with me for 3 years. But at the time, his owner named him Baby Cutie. So that's his I don't know, previous owner's name. And when I had him, I just couldn't figure out a name for him, except I started thinking that he would curl up on you like a cat, like a lump of meat, like a round meatball. And I floated other names like dumpling, charshu, banh mi. Like it was always going to be a food name from my favorite foods. I don't particularly love meatballs, but it's a name that kind of just stuck because it was just so easy to roll off the tongue. Also 8 letters, so maybe I just like 8-letter names. But that's the name that stuck.
Data leap, yeah.
Data leap meatball.
Right. You know, I also love dogs very much, but whenever I bring the point of owning a dog, my mom sort of cracks a joke like we already have a dog in our house.
Oh no. My mom too. My mom never let me have a dog. That's the only thing I wanted as a kid, was to have a dog. And my mom was like, no, it's gonna smell, it's gonna break things, you're not responsible enough. I even got a robot dog as a kid. That's how much they didn't want me to have a real dog. But now they see Meatball, the perfect angel, and they're like, we should have a dog. Why don't we have a dog? Yeah. They're like, we never knew it was gonna be so easy, otherwise we would have given you a dog.
Yeah, I think having a dog is it brings positive vibes, right? I think I read somewhere that houses or places which have animals, there is always a positive sort of environment or aura around those places. So
I totally agree. Just like sharing your space with a non-human is enlightening because you get to see how non-humans live. But at the same time, it allows you to cope, especially when times are hard, when a normal human isn't able to comfort you.
Right.
Also, Meatball begs and does tricks and is just a wonderful boy. Ravi.
Totally agree.
Ravi, thank you for your time today. It was enlightening to talk to you. I've actually started to remember and relearn a lot of the different steps of the interview process thanks to you. I'm thinking of branding this video as 20 rejections didn't stop him, and within 4 months he's now hiring other data scientists, something of that sort, because your story is legendary. I truly think that a lot of people are looking exactly to be in your space, and since you accomplished it so recently, you are the perfect example for these people. So thank you for sharing your story.
I sort of have this weird connection, I don't know, with your channel, because let me give you a few points. So I was working on imbalanced data set, right? Mm-hmm. So in which I was trying to apply some classifier or anomaly detection, and bang, I see an anomaly detection video on your channel. Then I was even before I knew about your channel, right, I was sort of discussing with Ken if you're gonna have a normal data science, we're gonna have a normal data science mock interview, and after that I would really like to volunteer myself as a live coding interview sort of thing. So bang, very next day I see Data Leap channel where you are interviewing with the live mock coding interviews, right?
Wow, so there's a ton of connections. Really, seven areas. What is it called? 7 levels of separation. Thank you for sharing all the ways that we are connected. Now I feel more interconnected with you, even though you're already a top commenter and engaging person on the channel. So I already appreciate you for that. Yeah, man, let's hang out. Let's just do stuff. Feel free to talk more. Of course, I at this part, I always say people can reach me with email, reach me on YouTube, which is the fastest, reach me on Discord on the 66 Days of Data. But you, Ravi, my friend, can reach me anyway.
We're also coming out with a website for the 66 Days of Data that will be very fun. Hopefully it's already out by the time this video comes out, but if it isn't, this is a teaser now. And I think that's all the announcements. Go watch another Data Leak video. Go connect with Ravi over on LinkedIn. I'm going to put his information in the description below. Ravi, any final words?
Final words are final words are sort of tricky. Let me see. I have a lot of final words. I think I would say one final dialogue from one of my favorite movies of all time.
Sure.
So it says, "All the power on this earth cannot change the destiny."
What movie is this from?
This is from Godfather Part 3.
Ooh, that's a good choice. All right, Ravi, movie expert, data science, hiring manager, looking to you for your data science journey. Thank you, Ravi, for being here.
Yeah, appreciate, man. It was probably the best talk I've ever had with an online internet personality. And
thank you, Ravi. And we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Are you still there? To delete this message, press 7. To save it in the archives, press 9. To hear more options, press 0.
What are you talking about?